2.4 linear functions. And we're just going to go over some vocabulary first. So here's my graph, my Cartesian plane, and this line here is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. In the center is the origin, and that's 0, 0, the origin. Now the Cartesian plane, or the graph, is cut up in 4 pieces. So you know how at its C line you have quad bikes, and quad bikes have 4 wheels, okay? You can see here it says quad, that means 4. So the Cartesian plane is cut up into 4 pieces, or 4 locations, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like we have Salal, we have Doha, we have Al Ruwais, they're just locations. So when I'm talking, I can say, you know, the point that's in quadrant 3, and then you know where to look, okay? Now usually they use Roman numerals, so they go 1, 2, 3, and 4. But in this case, we just used regular numbers. Okay. When we have a line and it intersects or touches the x-axis, we call it the X-Intercept. And when this line touches the y-axis, it's called the Y-intercept. So you need to know X-intercept and Y-intercept. It just means where do they touch the x and y-axis. So when I have a line that's in this equation form, now this is called the slope-intercept form, because here, when I have a number here, it represents the slope, and slope, we use M for the letter slope. And this, usually there's a number here, and this number is represented by B, which is the y-intercept. That just means where the line crosses the y-axis. Then we have x and y, and x is the independent variable, and y is the dependent variable. So this page is just vocabulary. So the next page is sort of, what is a linear function? So here we have the word line hiding in linear. And if I tell my daughter, oh, look at this line, I draw a line, she would go, oh, I see it. But in math, this is not a line. In math, when you have a straight line with 2 arrows that go on forever and ever and ever on both sides, that's a line. This is a curve because it's like, woo-wee, okay. If I have something that looks like this and it starts and stops, that's called a line segment. It's not a line, it's a line segment. This is a line where it's straight and it goes on forever and ever and ever. So we're just going to talk about linear functions, functions that are lines, okay? So functions, when I have a line, the domain is always from negative infinity to infinity. That means the x values. Where does this line exist on the x-axis? It's always going to be negative infinity to infinity, okay? So really, what are linear functions? A straight line. It can be horizontal, but it cannot be vertical, because if it's a line that's vertical, it's not a function, okay? So let's look. Here's some linear functions. So you can see they have arrows on the end. These are straight lines that go on forever and ever. And they're functions because I can do the vertical line test and say, yep, it only touches one place at a time. These are functions because it only touches one place when I use my vertical line test, but they're not straight lines. So these are non-linear. These are linear because they go on forever and ever and they're straight lines, but these are like broken pieces. They're actually, if they have arrows on this, they're actually rays. They start here and shoot out, start here and shoot out. So these are not linear functions. These are made up of straight lines, but still it's not a linear function. Okay. I think I need to focus my camera a little bit. That's better. Now you can see it better. Okay. So you can see linear functions are straight lines. All right. In a graph, it's easy to see, but when they're equations, it's not. So these are functions, like equations, but with a g of x, h of x, f of x. And these are not linear functions because it has a squared, a cubed. It has a fraction with a letter on the bottom, okay? So that means these are not straight lines if I graph them, okay? If I go over here, because the x only has a 1 on it, that means it's a function. It's okay if the x is not there because then that just means it's a horizontal line, okay? So, oh, there's a fraction here. That's okay because it's just numbers in the fraction and x is beside it. Here, if there's a fraction but the x is in the fraction, that's not good. That means it's not linear. So anytime we have something that looks like this, these are straight lines, which means they're linear functions. Okay. Oops, that's it.